The Bottle Imp by Robert Louis Stevenson. Chapter 1. The Bottle. In Hawaii, there is a man called Kiawe. He works well and can do many things. He does not have much money, but he wants to see the world. Kiawe goes to San Francisco, a beautiful town. There is a hill there with many big houses, and one day Kiawe walks on the hill. He looks at the beautiful big houses.
The people in those houses are very lucky,
he thinks. One of the houses is smaller, but very beautiful, with nice big windows and a garden of flowers. Kiawe stops and looks at it. Then he sees a man at the window. The man is old, and his face is very sad. The man sees Kiawe and calls to him.
"I have a very nice house,"
he says.
"Come and see it."
The man takes Kiawe into every room, and everything in the house is beautiful. But the man's face is very sad. Kiawe doesn't understand.
This is a beautiful house,
he says.
Why aren't you happy?
"You can have a beautiful house too,"
the man says. Kiawe laughs.
But I don't have much money,
he says.
This house is very expensive.
"No,"
says the man.
"You can have it for $50.
The house?
asks Kiawe.
"No, not the house,"
says the man,
"but the bottle. This house and everything in it is from a bottle. This is it."
And he takes out a bottle. A strange fire moves in it.
"An imp lives in it,"
says the man.
"Buy this bottle from me for $50, and you can ask the imp for a beautiful house. A new house, love, money. The imp can give you everything."
Then why are you selling it?
asks Kiawe.
"I am old,"
the man says.
"I must sell the bottle before I die. You can't die with the bottle, or you go to hell."
Then I don't want it,
says Kiawe.
I don't need a house, and I don't want to go to hell.
"But think,"
says the man.
"You can ask the bottle for one or two things. Then you can sell it and live happily. But I must tell you one more thing. You must sell the bottle for less than $50. Less than you pay for it. Sell it for the same, and it comes back to you. Give it to somebody, and it comes back to you too."
Is this true? How can I know?
says Kiawe.
"Give me your $50 and take the bottle. Then ask the imp to give you the $50 back. The imp gives you your money, or I give the money back to you.
Well, okay then,
says Kiawe. He gives the man $50 and takes the bottle.
Imp of the bottle,
He says,
give me $50.
and suddenly the money is in his hand.
This is a wonderful bottle,
Says Kiawe.
Goodbye,
Says the man.
and thank you.
Wait,
Says Kiawe.
I don't want it. Take your bottle back.
It's your bottle now.
Says the man.
You must go.
He calls his servant, and the servant takes Kiawe out of the house. Chapter 2. The House. Kiawe is going back to Hawaii, so he takes the bottle with him on the ship. He shows it to his friend Lopaka, and he tells Lopaka about the imp.
Listen, Kiawe,
Says Lopaka.
take the good with the bad. Ask for something from the imp. Then sell the bottle to me. I want to buy a ship. Perhaps the imp can give me one.
I want to have a beautiful house and garden in Kona.
Says Kiawe.
I see the house in my dreams. It has big windows and balconies and flowers in the garden. I live there happily, and my friends and family visit every day.
Well,
Says Lopaka.
let's take the bottle back to Hawaii. You can have your house, then I can buy the bottle and have my ship.
They arrive in Hawaii, and Kiawe's friend is there on the beach.
Kiawe,
He says,
I'm so sorry. Your uncle and his son are dead.
Kiawe is very sad. He cries and he forgets the bottle. But Lopaka is thinking.
Kiawe,
He says,
your uncle's land is now your land. Is it in Kona?
Yes,
says Kiawe, and he cries again.
Don't cry.
Says Lopaka.
Now you have the land for your house. Perhaps this is the imp's work.
then I don't like the imp's work.
Says Kiawe,
It kills my uncle and his son.
and he cries again.
Do you have money for a house?
Lopaka asks.
No,
Says Kiawe,
I have the land now, but I don't have money.
Let's go and see the lawyer.
says Lopaka.
Kiawe,
Says the lawyer.
you have a lot of money from your uncle. Now you are a rich man.
This is from the imp.
Lopaka says to Kiawe.
Now you have the money for the house.
They go to see an architect, and the architect shows them a picture of a house with big windows and balconies and flowers in the garden.
It is the house from my dreams.
Kiawe thinks.
I don't like the imp's work, but I must take the good with the bad. I can have this house.
A few months go past, and the house is ready. Kiawe and Lopaka go to see it. It is on a mountain, and there are beautiful flowers and trees in the garden. The house has big rooms and balconies and nice big windows. There are beautiful pictures in every room. The back of the house looks out at the flowers and trees, and the front of the house looks down the mountain at the sea.
Well,
Says Lopaka.
do you like it?
It is beautiful.
Says Kiawe.
I am the happiest man in the world. But I do not want this bottle in my house.
I am afraid of that bottle,
Says Lopaka.
but I always keep a promise. Sell it to me now. I can ask for a ship and a little money. Then I can sell it again quickly.
So Kiawe sells Lopaka the bottle, and Lopaka leaves. He goes away with the bottle, and Kiawe watches.
Thank you, Lopaka.
He says, because now he does not have the bottle, but he is afraid for his friend. Chapter 3. Kakua. Kiawe is very happy with his beautiful house, and he quickly forgets about the bottle. Every day he sits on the balcony at the back of the house and reads. People come and visit, and they go into all the rooms and look at all the pictures. Soon, everyone in Kona knows about Kiawe's house. They call it the Bright House, because Kiawe's servant makes everything in it clean and bright. And when Kiawe walks through his house, he sings. One day, Kiawe goes to see some friends. The next morning, he rides home. He wants to be back in his beautiful house. But then he sees something. A woman in the sea. She is very beautiful. She comes out of the sea and walks on the beach. Soon, she is in front of Kiawe's horse. She is clean from the water, and her eyes are bright and kind. Kiawe looks at her and stops his horse.
I know everyone here,
He says,
but I don't know you.
I am Kokwa, Kiano's daughter.
says the girl.
Who are you?
I can't tell you my name now,
He says.
but tell me, are you married?
Kakwa laughs.
Are you married?
She asks.
I am not, Kokwa,
Says Kiawe.
but I see your beautiful eyes, and my heart goes to you. Can I come to your father's house tonight? Can I talk with him tomorrow?
Kakwa says nothing, but she looks at the sea and laughs. Then she walks in front of Kiawe to her father's house. Her father calls.
Kiawe, come in.
Then Kakwa looks at Kiawe. She knows his name now, and she knows about his house. Kakwa is clever, and all evening she laughs at Kiawe. The next day, Kiawe speaks to her father, and then he speaks to her.
Kokwa,
He says,
you laugh at me, but I love you. Do you love me too?
Yes.
says Kakwa, and now she does not laugh. So now Kiawe is in Kakwa's head. And Kiawe, he sings on the mountain, and he sings on his balcony. The sun goes down, and he sings into the night.
I am the luckiest man in the world.
He thinks, and he wakes his servant and says,
Get me some hot water. I want to wash.
Kiawe goes into his room and he sings. He takes off his clothes and he sings. And then suddenly he stops. The servant listens. He calls to Kiawe. Is everything all right? Kiawe says,
Yes.
but he doesn't sing anymore. And all night, Kiawe walks up and down, because when Kiawe takes off his clothes, he sees something on his skin. He has leprosy. He must go away, and he can never see Kakwa again.
I can leave Hawaii.
He cries.
I can leave my house, but I cannot leave Kokwa.
And he walks up and down, up and down. Then, in the dark of the night, he remembers the bottle.
I hate that bottle,
He thinks.
and I hate that imp. But I want to marry Kokwa, and only that bottle can help me.
Chapter 4 2 Cents. The next day, Kiawe rides down from his house on the mountain and takes the ship to Honolulu. The men on the ship talk and laugh, but Kiawe walks up and down, up and down. In the evening, they arrive in Honolulu, and Kiawe asks for Lopaka. Lopaka has a ship now, people tell him. He is away on his ship. Then Kiawe remembers Lopaka's friend, the lawyer, and he asks for him.
Ah,
Says a man.
he is very rich now. He has a big new house in Waikiki.
So Kiawe goes to the lawyer's house.
How can I help you?
Says the lawyer.
You are Lopaka's friend,
Says Kiawe.
and I am looking for something from him. Perhaps you have it?
The lawyer's face goes dark.
I understand you, Mr. Kiawe.
He says,
I don't have it. But you can ask this man.
and he gives Kiawe a name. Day after day, Kiawe goes from house to house. Many people have already sold the bottle. Everyone gives him a new name. Every day, he sees beautiful new houses, and servants, and horses, and happy faces.
These are all things from the imp,
He thinks.
and these men are all happy because they do not have the bottle.
But one day he comes to a house. The young man at the door has fear in his eyes.
Ah,
Thinks Kiawe.
here is the bottle.
So he says to the man,
I want to buy the bottle. How much is it now?
"How much is it?" says the young man. He looks at Kiawe. "You don't know?"
No.
says Kiawe.
Perhaps you can tell me.
The young man's face shows more fear. "It is 2 cents, he says.
What?
Cries Kiawe.
2 cents? Then you can only sell it for 1 cent. And then, after that...
Kiawe cannot say it, but he knows. After someone buys the bottle for 1 cent, they cannot sell it, because you cannot pay less than 1 cent for it. The young man falls to the ground. "Please, buy it," he cries. "Please,"
Love is in front of me.
says Kiawe.
Give me the bottle, and here is 1 cent.
Kiawe takes the bottle and leaves the house. He thinks,
I want to be clean.
and when he takes off his clothes, there is no leprosy on his skin. But when he sees this, something changes in him. He forgets about the leprosy, and he forgets about Kakwa. He can think only of the imp, and he can think only,
I am going to hell.
but he knows that he must take the good with the bad. So he takes the next ship back to Kona, and soon he and Kakwa marry, and he carries her up the mountain to the bright house. When he is with Kakwa, Kiawe can forget the bottle, but when he is alone, he sees only the red fires of hell. Kakwa is kind and happy. All day in the bright house she sings, and Kiawe hears her. He cries when he thinks about the imp, but then he washes his face, and he sits with Kakwa singing and smiling. But one day, Kakwa stops singing. Kiawe and Kakwa begin to sit on different balconies, and Kiawe can think only of the bottle and the imp and of hell. One day, he hears crying. It is Kakwa.
Why are you crying, Kakwa?
Kiawe asks.
Why aren't you happy?
Happy?
Kakwa cries.
Kiawe, everyone tells me you are the happiest man in the world. But now you are with me and you never smile. What is wrong with me? Why aren't you happy with me?
Oh, Kakwa, I am sorry.
Says Kiawe, and he sits next to her.
Listen, and I can tell you everything. Then you can understand how much I love you.
And Kiawe tells Kakwa everything. Kakwa listens, and then she cries. She takes Kiawe in her arms and kisses him.
You do all this for me?
She cries.
Oh, how can I save you?
Nobody can save me.
Kiawe says.
I am going to hell.
Kiawe,
Says Kakwa.
you talk about sense, but not all the world is American. In Tahiti, they have a small coin called the centime. There are 5 centimes in a cent. Let's go to Tahiti, Kiawe. There, we have 4 centimes, 3 centimes, 2 centimes, 1 centime. Someone can buy the bottle for 4 centimes.
You are clever, Kakwa.
Cries Kiawe.
Perhaps you can save me. Perhaps you can.
Chapter 5. Tahiti. The next day, Kakwa takes their bags and the bottle, and they go by ship to Tahiti. Kakwa sings again now, and Kiawe walks more happily than before. But when he remembers the bottle, there is fear in his heart. When Kakwa and Kiawe arrive in Tahiti, Kakwa asks the bottle for lots of money. They buy horses and expensive things. They find a beautiful house, and they wear their best clothes.
People must see us and say, "That man and woman are rich."
Kakwa says.
Then they can believe in the bottle.
Soon, everyone knows about the man and woman from Hawaii. Kiawe and Kakwa begin to talk about the bottle. But it is not easy. Some people laugh and don't believe them. But many people hear about the imp and are afraid. Soon, nobody wants to talk to Kiawe and Kakwa. And when children see them, they run away, screaming. This is terrible for Kiawe and Kakwa. At night, they sit in their house and they don't speak. Sometimes they watch the strange fire in the bottle. Sometimes, when one of them is lying and sleeping, the other cries in the dark. One night, when Kakwa wakes, she is alone. She hears something, and she looks out into the garden. There is Kiawe. He is lying on the ground under the trees, crying and making a terrible noise.
He sees the fires of hell, and all for me.
She thinks.
I must help him. A love for a love. He thinks that he is going to hell for me, but I can go to hell for him.
She dresses quickly and takes some teams. Then she goes out into the dark night and the wind, and soon she sees an old man.
Please help me, old man,
says Kakwa, and she tells him the story of Kiawe and the bottle.
Pretend that you want the bottle. Pay Kiawe 4 centimes for it.
She says.
And then I can buy it from you for 3.
How can I believe you?
Says the old man.
I always keep my promises.
Says Kakwa. The old man looks at her.
Give me the 4 centimes and wait here,
He says. Kakwa stands alone in the street. She hears the fires of hell in the wind, and she sees the hands of the imp in the shadows. Then the old man comes back. He has the bottle in his hand.
Your husband can sleep now,
He says, and he gives her the bottle.
Please, wait. Just 1 minute.
Says Kakwa.
Just 1 minute. My hand cannot take it.
The old man looks at her kindly.
Leave the bottle with me.
He says.
I am old, and in the next world...
No, no.
Says Kakwa.
I cannot do that. Give me the bottle. And take these 3 centimes.
You are a good woman,
Says the man. Kakwa takes the bottle and walks. She walks up and down, up and down. Sometimes she walks, and sometimes she runs. Sometimes she screams, and sometimes she falls to the ground and cries. She sees the fires of hell, and there is fear in her heart. In the morning, she goes home. Kiawe is sleeping.
You can sing and laugh now, Kiawe.
She thinks.
But I cannot sing. I cannot be happy again.
And she lies down next to Kiawe and sleeps. Chapter 6. The Sailor. The next morning, Kiawe wakes Kakwa and tells her about the old man. Kakwa cannot eat. She cannot speak. But Kiawe is very happy.
Foolish old man.
Kiawe laughs.
He can never sell that bottle for 3 centimes. He's taking it to hell.
Don't laugh at him.
Says Kakwa.
Be sad for him. Thank him.
Kiawe doesn't like to hear this.
Why aren't you happy for me?
He says angrily. And he goes out and rides into town. He meets some bad men there. He stays with them all day, and they spend a lot of money. One of the men is a sailor. He is a bad man, and he says many bad things.
You're rich, Kiawe,
Says the sailor.
You're always talking about this strange bottle. Go home and get some more money. Then we can spend some more.
My wife has our money.
Says Kiawe.
Never give your money to your wife.
The bad sailor says.
You can't trust a woman.
Perhaps he's right.
Kiawe thinks.
Perhaps she is with some other people. Perhaps a man. Perhaps she is with him now.
They come to Kiawe's house. The sailor waits in the street, and Kiawe goes very quietly into his house. He opens the door quietly and looks in. Kakwa is in the house, but she is not with a man. She is looking at the bottle. For a moment, Kiawe can't move.
Why is the bottle here?
He thinks.
It's coming back to me.
Then suddenly, he thinks of something. His face feels hot. He closes the door very quietly and waits outside for a moment. Then he comes in again, but with a lot of noise. Kakwa hears him. This time, the bottle is not there. Kakwa is pretending to sleep. She sits up when he comes in. So then he knows. The owner of the bottle is not the old man. It is Kakwa.
I'm with some friends,
He says.
I'm here for some more money. And I'm sorry, Kakwa.
She cries and kisses him. Then he takes some money and goes out. But he doesn't take money for the bad men. He doesn't want to go out now. He only takes 3 centimes. Kakwa is going to hell for him, she thinks. So he must go to hell for her. The sailor is waiting for him.
My wife has the bottle.
He tells him.
I need it, or we cannot get more money. Take these 2 centimes. Buy the bottle from my wife, but don't say anything about me. Bring it to me, then I can buy it from you for 1 centime.
How can I trust you?
Says the sailor.
When you have the bottle, ask for a bag of money. Then you can believe me.
Says Kiawe. So the sailor walks up to Kiawe's house. Kiawe waits for a long time. Then, at last, he hears singing. It is the sailor. He is carrying the bottle, and he has a bag of money.
Give the bottle to me,
Says Kiawe.
and take this coin.
Hands off.
Cries the sailor.
You aren't taking this bottle from me.
But the owner of that bottle goes to hell.
Says Kiawe.
You think I'm a fool, but you're wrong.
Says the sailor.
I'm going to hell already, but I'm happier going there with this bottle.
Please,
Says Kiawe.
don't do this. Sell it to me.
Never.
Says the sailor.
This is my bottle now, and I'm not selling it to anyone.
And he walks away into the shadows of the night. Kiawe runs to Kakwa, his heart singing. They are very happy that night, and they are very happy every day after that in the bright house.